Good morning, class. Welcome to yet another glorious day here in dear old Blighty. I hope it's just as lovely where you all are. Do let me know where you are, how it's all going, if you're nice and warm or if it's pouring with rain. You can't really ask for more than this, and welcome once again to History from Home, or History at Home. We're not 100% sure which hashtag we're going to go with yet. We're in the research and development stage, I suppose, on that one. But it's an absolute pleasure, an honour and a privilege to have you all joining us here today, just going through your lovely hellos. We've got Thomas there, we've got Danger, we've got Charlie giving me a little wave there. Who else have we got? We've got the Gannies have joined, we've got Danger asking me how I am. I'm very, very well, thank you. Yes, I woke up in a very, very good mood today, which was always a good thing, I always find. How are you all doing? How is everyone out there in the internet stratosphere? How's everyone doing? I mean, stratosphere is a bit arrogant. I don't think that we've reached stratostrophic heights just yet. Dylan, Tam and Yasmin, welcome. Hello. Oh dear, my pen flew away from me there. I'm in a very, very good mood today, which is good. Hello, Ian. Lovely to see you. I'm in a particularly good mood today, and I don't really know why. I think it's because I get to sit down and spend a lovely hour with you wonderful lot. Hello, everybody. Hello, Ben. You're going on the register, as are Harry and Eva. Lovely. I'm in a really good mood. I feel like singing. The old Oodle Alley from Robin Hood. Bit of a hint there as to what we're doing today. Hello from Ethan and Jamie. Hello, Ethan and Jamie. Lovely to have you here. Hi, Joseph. Welcome. Pull up a chair. Settle in. I see some old friends lurking in the doorway there. Come on in. Pull out your pens and paper and settle in. Danger. Lovely to have you, as always. Sing. Oodle alley, jolly, what a day. Come on, you don't want me to sing. More of that singing. What else? There's that famous one. That one. What a voice. Well, as you know, this strange old situation is really drawing out talents that perhaps we didn't realise that we had. Mine is certainly not singing. I can promise you that one. To be honest, I don't think I have any of them. Sebastian, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. I am very touched to have you join. Thank you very much indeed. Hello, Isabella. As always, a treat, honour and privilege to have you. Hope you're all doing well out there. We're going to give it another minute or so whilst we wait for the bell to signal lessons start. And then we will be, just so you know, hurtling back to the 1200s. Yes, those dark and dangerous times. Thomas H. Hello, Thomas H. How are you? We beg to differ. Awfully kind of you. That's very sweet indeed. I have been known to do the odd Frank Sinatra at karaoke and empty the bar, funnily enough. I know, Australia, it's amazing. Hello, Elodie and Leo. Lovely to have you here. Ian's here. How wonderful. We've got a fantastic little gathering. Bertie and Maggie. Welcome, Bertie and Maggie. And as always, a treat to have you. Someone mentioned the tie. I felt that we needed a bit of brightness in this funny old time. I hope you're all staying safe out there. Bella here. Hello, Bella. Welcome. Yes, I hope you're all staying safe and happy and everything out there in these strange old times. So, Rob in the Hood, exactly, yes. We will be touching on dear old Rob in the Hood. Oh dear, technical issues. Always do your checking before it kicks off. Hang on. There we go. Class is now in session. Welcome, everybody. We have the register for the 22nd of April 2020, just in case you'd forgotten the year. So what we have here is the register. We do it every single time. Make sure that you get your names in advance, and I can give you a little shout out, which you all deserve. Okay, so we have Amelia and Daisy Salter. Welcome. We have Emma and Drew, very special guests here today. Welcome, my lovely friends. We have Jack Illingworth. Welcome. We have Jack and Lucas. Jack and Lucas are back with us, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Thomas and his brother. cover. As always, an absolute honour and a privilege. Nell, age 7, first time joining. Welcome, Nell. It's an absolute treat to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. We have Ian. Welcome back, Ian. Lovely to have you. We have Matilda and Henry. We have Charlie E. Welcome, Charlie E. We have Thomas H. Welcome, Thomas H. Ethan and Jamie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have Ben. Welcome, Ben. We have Joseph. Welcome, Joseph. And we have Harry and Eva. Welcome, all of you. It's an absolute treat and privilege to have you here today. Thank you for joining me. So, we've had the bell. Let us launch into lesson 11. Can you imagine we've done 11 of these things? I don't know how you've put up with me for so long. So yes, lesson 11, we're talking about King John, the poxy King of England, and the Magna Carta of 1215. A very interesting subject, I think you'll all agree. And as we will find out at the end, because, you know, we talk about outcomes at the end of the lesson, we have things to remember at the beginning, and at the very end we have outcomes. And these outcomes, considering that we're talking about the 1200s, the outcomes of Magna Carta are quite remarkable. And I hope you'll all agree with me. And we have the quiz. I have been working very hard to make sure I get some questions in there that perhaps tackle those little grey cells. Solid tan. Thank you, Jamie. It's actually blood pressure, as we all know. So, things to remember when thinking about Magna Carta and the poxy King John. England worked under a system called feudalism. Now, what is feudalism? Well, feudalism is effectively a triangle of power. At the bottom of that triangle, you have the peasants, who, I suppose the closest similarity I can give in this time is they were sort of enslaved. They ran land, they worked on land that they didn't own. The land was owned by the next tier up, who were the barons, and they're effectively landowners. And so the peasants worked the land, they were given home and board, and then they paid their taxes, or they paid what they earned through selling all their produce down at the market, up to the barons. Now, the barons were a bit of a puffed up lot. They didn't do very much. They had a lot of money because they didn't work and they just took money from other people. And they paid their taxes to the king, who's at the very top of that little triangle we spoke about. So you've got the king right at the top. Down below, we've got the barons who pay taxes to the king, and down below that, you've got the peasants who pay their taxes to the barons. Everyone okay with what feudalism is? I'm sure you've all seen that famous triangle. Some of you may have seen it with the church popped in just below. But for our purposes, feudalism is king, barons, peasants. And please let me know if you need me to go through that again for you. So yes, the peasants paid the rent to the barons, and the barons paid their taxes to the king, and the king reigned over everybody. As there was no true parliament, there was a semblance, a sort of imitation of a parliament. But because there was no parliament, when the king needed money, he went to his barons and he said, "Oi, you lot back there, give me your cash. Come on now, quickly. And so they turned around. Sorry, I'm getting all sorts of nonsense coming through there. So yes, he said, "Oi, you lot, give me your money." And the barons got a bit fed up with all that. You know, they were there going, "Well, hang on a minute, we've done nothing in order to earn this cash, and, all right, kingy, calm down." But no one was above the king. The king at these times, and it lasted probably until after the English Civil War, so let's say early 1700s, the king believed in something called the divine right of kings. Now, what is the divine right of kings? The divine right of kings, I'll keep saying it because it may be coming up in the quiz later on. The divine right of kings is the belief that the king is appointed by God solely, and no one can touch his power, no one can tell him he's wrong, and no one can dictate to the king, is really what we're talking about. So yes, basically the king talks to God, God talks to him and says, "You're doing great, son, crack on." And that allows the king to do precisely what he wanted. Top-down monarchy. We're coming on to who the king was, Ian. Bear with me. We're there in a sec. Everyone okay with feudalism and the systems of power in the 1200s? Everyone okay with that? Do let me know. If not, quick slurp of coffee, I think, as you know. We've gone for turtle doves today, team. Oh, I needed that. Absolutely needed that. So, Ian's question, who was the king? The king was Elvis Presley. No, I'm joking. The king was King John of England. John, King of England. And he was the son of the impressive Henry II of England. Now, Henry had created this vast empire, vast for the time, because as we know, it gets a lot bigger. And he created this vast empire in France, and he inherited an awful lot from his wife. He married Eleanor of Aquitaine, and Eleanor had lots and lots of lands. And when they got married, she went, "Here you go, mate, we're married, this is your land now." And that was all great. And she said, behind every great man, there is a woman with lots of land, which I think's, rather, I don't know if that's fair or not. Let me know in the comments if you think so. So Henry was this great king, and he inherited the throne of England, and he ruled rather well, maintaining this big empire in France. He had 8 children, and the youngest of those children was King John, who was soon to be King John. Hello to Callum. Hello, Callum. Lovely to see you. So yes, he was the youngest of 8 children, and John was never likely to even see the throne, let alone sit on it, right? I mean, 8 kids. He was the youngest son by a long way. He had 4 brothers, maybe 5, 4 brothers, all of whom were ahead of him in the succession. So he was never likely to sit on the throne. However, William, Henry, Geoffrey all died before becoming king. And then his brother, Richard the Lionheart, you'll all remember him, Richard the Lionheart became king and ruled very well. He's famous for fighting the campaigns and spending an awful lot of time away from England. And during that time, John would sort of take care of affairs and things that were going on in England at the time. But he was killed, Richard the Lionheart, in a battle in France in 1199. Thomas Hitchin, I'm sorry, I thought I shouted you out earlier on, but I obviously missed you. I do apologise. So Richard the Lionheart was killed in a battle in 1199, and who would have guessed it? King John came to the throne in 1199, and he had to live up. I sort of feel sorry for John at times. He had to live up to his remarkable father and his famous brother. Everyone's heard of Richard the Lionheart, and everyone at the time knew of Henry II and his fantastic ability to maintain this huge empire. As I say, huge at the time. So John really had to try and step out of their shadow. He was also having a lot of trouble with the church, specifically the Pope. The Pope was saying to John, I want you to appoint so-and-so for this role, Archbishop of Canterbury. And John went, well, hang on a minute, I want to give it to my mate over here. And so the Pope and John fell out, and the Pope basically said, do as I tell you, or I'll kick you out of the church. So John went, okay, yeah, fair dues. I'll hold my hand up. You've got me there. And so they went with the Pope's suggestion. But it's just worth remembering that there was a bit of tension between John and the Pope, the church. And the other thing that's worth remembering, we have moved on from what to remember. This is now just your full-blown lesson. Worth remembering, the barons, who, as we said, were funding these wars, were a little fed up. Now, it was different under Henry, who was a strong and, as I say, very good king, and different under Richard, because he was out conquering land and bringing back money and lands for England at the time. But they spent an awful lot of money funding these battles and the campaigns, etc. And all of these taxes had to be increased. Taxes as in paying money to the king, not taxes, beep, beep, I'll have a cab, please. So yes, all of these taxes had been increased in order to pay for Richard's conquests, and John basically had to inherit that situation. That's what John inherited. He inherited a disgruntled pope. He inherited a feudalistic society. He had to step out of his much more famous family's shadows. And he also had to maintain this enormous, as I say, for the time, empire in France. Right, everyone okay with where John is? And also in legend, he was trying to sort out, Robin Hood and all his nonsense. Sheriff of Nottingham and all that sort of stuff. Wherever this arrow lands, may he be buried. Everyone okay with where we are in England in we've now come up to 1215. So John's been on the throne since 1199. It's now 1215. Everyone okay? Good, excellent. We've got a brilliant, we've got an A-OK, marvellous, thanks everybody. Couldn't ask for a better bunch than you lot. Just a reminder, those of you who are reading along in our Pimlico history, you can turn to page 78 for the Magna Carta. Was Robin Hood real then? I didn't want to say it, but he wasn't. I mean, he may have been a combination of several outlaws at the time, but we don't have a record of an actual Robin Hood. However, that does not mean that you don't believe in this wonderful green bedraggled chap running around Nottingham Forest. Hang on to old Robin. He's one of our greatest legends, but we will hang on to him. Also a reminder, we've got St. George's Day coming up. Is that tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow. So, in the 15 years that John had been king, because the first year of his reign was very much sort of sitting around, lounging, eating pies and hunting and things like that. In 15 years, we've now come on to the causes that led up to Magna Carta. In 15 years, John had lost almost all of his parents' lands in France to conquest. Almost all of them. He was left to England, literally, and 2 tiny provinces, specks of land in France. He'd lost the whole bloomin' lot of it. And he was incredibly, as you can imagine, incredibly embarrassed and angry, and he was trying on all fronts to try and win back this land. And trying to keep them was incredibly expensive. I mean, you think about wars today and how much they come up to cost. Running a war back then was cheaper, but still, by the standards, it took a huge amount of money to try and keep these lands. And the barons were footing the bill. John was walking into the restaurant, eating a 5-course meal, and then walking out without paying the bill. The barons were there going, well, hang on a minute, you had lobster and whatever and chocolate pudding, and we've got to pay for all this. So the barons were getting rather cross, especially as John had raised taxes again in order to fund these wars. He was also a brutal king. This is why I don't particularly like John, and he has been named the worst king of England. You may have heard me earlier on singing along. A pox on that cursed king of England. Anyway, it's from the Robin Hood film, which I will be watching this afternoon because I think it must be one of Disney's best films. So he was a brutal king. He had actually imprisoned his ex-wife Isabella, who was very popular. Isabella, we have an Isabella in the house. Yes, he'd imprisoned his ex-wife Isabella, and she was very, very popular. People didn't like him for doing that. And then rather than execute his prisoners, I think at the end of the discussion we had earlier on this week about, remind me, what were we talking about? Ah, yes, the gunpowder plot. As we know, back in the day, there were some rather nasty ways to execute people. John didn't do that. He actually would put them in prison and he wouldn't feed them, meaning that they starved to death. So he was cruel, brutal. And he is also supposed to have murdered his nephew. Leo, watch your back, mate, because I might be coming for you. Yes, he's supposed to have murdered his nephew as well. We don't know conclusively that he did that. But yes, that could have happened as well. So what we're coming to here is a particularly unpopular, nasty king, right? And also, if the barons, who were getting increasingly miffed off with King John, if they refused to pay their rent, their taxes, he would treat them incredibly harshly. He'd punish them. And he would also take their lands, take their homes and their lands and their estates and everything. Not unusual at the time. I'm not saying he was okay, but he was particularly ruthless. Stop, sir. Is everything all right? Everything okay? Is there a trouble? Should I slam the brakes on the lesson? I hope everyone's okay. Ben, let me know you're okay. I'm worried you've asked me to stop. Let me know if everything's okay. Any questions about some of the main causes that led up to this crazy event, this phenomenal event of the Magna Carta? Thanks, Danger. Always trying to please. Quick slurp. I think everyone's okay. We may have lost Ben. Hopefully he'll come back. So what happened? This cataclysmic build-up, the loss of the empire, the raising of taxes, his unpopularity at home, his cruelty, all of that, what happened? How did we reach this point? Holly is joining. Hello, Holly. How are you? How did the barons have so much money? Well, they basically enslaved their peasants, and they took the land. I mean, it wasn't illegal. It was sort of payment. It was rental. However, as we know in these days, it's actually something called serfdom rather than anything else. So yes, that's how they made their money. They were also, very, very clever, I suppose. What meanie king John is. Absolutely. Bad king, everybody. You're 100% right. He was not a popular chap. Wasn't then, isn't now. So what happened? The barons, having finally had enough, rebelled. They'd lost it. They've just had enough. They were fed up with his treatment, fed up of their taxes being increased, everything. Just totally had enough, and they rebelled. They pulled together their private armies and started banging their swords together and saying, "Oi, we've had enough now. Back off, kingy." In April 1215, the barons renounced, which means to take away, their allegiance to King John, which meant that they no longer were no longer supporting the king. If he got into a particular state of trouble, the barons wouldn't go and support him. They were effectively saying, "You are no king of mine." So they demanded that John, the king, go and meet them to answer for his crimes. Now, as we spoke about earlier on, the divine right of kings, John was there going, "Excuse me, you small, insignificant baron, you don't tell me, the king, what to do. God tells me what to do. How dare you come to me with this? Lay down your arms and do me homage." And, barons were there going, "No, we're bankrupt because of you, and we don't think that your position is particularly strong." What was the date? Yes, it was in April 1215. We're now focusing almost entirely in 1215. Thank you for checking in, I am. So yes, the king was livid. How dare they come to me, these small, insignificant people? I talk to God. I know what's going on. They don't. And the barons were saying to him, "You have to abide by the law." And the king was saying, "I'm above the law. I am the law." And as we will find out if you want me to discuss it further down the line, another king in a very similar situation actually refused to speak at his trial because he believed that there was no earthly body that could try a king. And his name was Charles I, and we can, as I say, if you're interested, we can talk about him at a later date. John totally refused to meet their demands. Totally refused. Absolutely not. I do not answer to barons. Barons answer to me. So in May 1215, the barons captured London. They went with their armies, they circled it, and they took the capital of England. They took the city of London. And yet John still refused to meet them. "I'm above the law. I am not going to adhere to what you're asking me to do. How dare you?" He was livid, and this went on, as you've just seen, for several months, this backwards and forwards. Technically, the people are the law because they vote for the laws. A very, very good point, and just you wait and see how good that point is, because we're just coming on to that. So London was taken, John was totally surrounded, and the barons, facing this king who wouldn't listen, hinted. They threatened. They said, "Now look, if you don't do what we ask, we're going to ask the French king's son, Louis, who doesn't have a throne. We're going to ask him to come over and be our king instead of you." And John went, "On second thoughts, I suppose we can have a chat." And so he gave in and agreed to meet and talk. So that's what happened after this big run-up. I think Ben's having trouble with the internet. Can someone let me know in the comments if you're also having trouble? I hope not. If there is a trouble, then I do apologise. It seems as though Ben is having issues. Is everyone else okay? Maybe it's my end, I don't know. Something's wrong. Dear. Unless you're talking about the barons and everything else. Same here. Is everyone having trouble? We're fine. Ian's fine. All good there. Okay. No problems. Okay. Right, I'm going to carry on. Ben, I hope we can... yes, exactly. Whoever's suggesting that Torpots, Ben, steps out and tries to rejoin, we will welcome you back with warm embrace. So now we come. 12:15. We are at the point in time where words such as Magna Carta start getting bandied around. Now, what does Magna Carta mean? Magna Carta means Great Charter in Latin, and that already shows just how important this document is. And I'm not saying this in a talking down way, but I think that we overlook how important Magna Carta is on a global scale. So the barons and the king decided, right, we're going to sit down and we're going to thrash this out. We're going to have a little chat and try and fix everything. The spot chosen, neutral ground, was Runnymede, which is Runnymede, Runnymede, one of my favourite words in the English language, near Windsor Castle. And they met there on the 15th of June, 1215. So they met at Runnymede near Windsor on the 15th of June, 1215. Poor old Torpots is having a real problem. I do apologise, but this will go up in the stories and be there for 24 hours. So hopefully it'll work for you there, Ben. I'm sorry to lose you. So yes, John had absolutely no choice. They sat down on the 15th of June, 1215, at Runnymede. And you can always remember that by that famous Simpsons scene, at 12:15 at Runnymede, doo-dah, doo-dah, the nobles and the king agreed, oh, the doo-dah day. So yes, John's hand was completely forced, and he was made... He had to sign Magna Carta. The barons said, we will withhold our taxes, we have an army, we have your capital. I'm afraid that you're in a pretty sticky old situation, Johnny boy, and you better do as we say. And so they signed Magna Carta, which was an agreement between the king and his barons. This document, this agreement, was the first of its kind. This had never happened before. A king being forced to bow down to his subjects' will. This had never happened in Europe. Obviously, in the ancient world, there was democracy in Greece, but this was, and it's not really democracy, really, but you know what I mean. Like, this is huge. This is massive. So it was a charter of liberties. That's really what it was. And it bound the king. It bound the king to the law. It put him within the law. And it particularly highlighted the rights to freed men, which is different to universal freedom. A freed man was someone who wasn't enslaved to a baron and didn't have to work the land. So it didn't cover everybody. I'm not saying it was perfect, but as an ancestor of what we're about to see, it was quite a remarkable document. And yes, so it enshrined the rights of liberties, it enshrined the rights of freed men, it meant that the king had to abide by the law. He couldn't just increase taxes whenever he likes. And this was the very beginning of what we know as the parliamentary system. It started the system where monarchs are accountable, as we know today. Her Majesty the Queen, happy birthday for yesterday, ma'am, if you're watching. I hope that you are. Yes, the Queen today is bound by what we now know as our Constitution. It's not like the American one. We don't have a written Constitution. But Magna Carta was, as we've got pointed out here, it was a start. It was definitely a start. And the barons were overjoyed with this. They'd made the king sit up and listen. But John, he was a sneaky little fellow, he was. John wrote to the Pope and went, Your Holiness, I need your help. I'm being forced to do this thing, and I don't want to do it. And the Pope went, fine, fair enough. And he wrote back to the barons and said, this settlement, this agreement you've come to with the king means nothing. You cannot bind a king by law. That's not what this is about. Why did the Pope do that? I will allow you to think about it, but it's worth remembering that, especially at the time, the Pope was a effectively a king. He, it's a very complicated situation, but the Pope... Still there. My phone went funny. Is everything okay? My phone went a bit funny there. Please do check in. I think everyone's okay. I can see me, sadly. Anyway, yes, so he wrote to the Pope, and the Pope came back and was like, no, not a chance. That does not exist. And John was basically given free rein by the Pope to do precisely what he wanted. And the barons were furious, and they ignored the Pope, and they said, Your Holiness, I'm sorry, you're kind of the biggest dog on the planet, but we're going to completely ignore you because we believe ourselves to be right. And it meant war, civil war in England, a baronial war. And the barons, however, sadly, were defeated at the Battle of Rochester in 1215. They were smashed into smithereens, and John launched back into his little microcosm of power. But then, completely out of the blue, the French invaded. Wonder who invited them to come along. So John was rushing around, fighting on so many fronts. He was supporting he was fighting the barons, he was fighting the French, and he was rushing all over the place. And then there's the famous story of him retreating, running away from his enemies across the Wash, which is between Norfolk and I can't remember what the other county is. But whilst fleeing, he actually lost all of his treasure and the crown of England in the fast rising tide. So he wasn't particularly happy about that. So yes, he was fighting the rebellious barons, the barons who were trying to make him sit up and listen to the law, and he was fighting the French as well. He did lose his crown 100%, and then finally, on the 19th of October, 1216, John died of dysentery. He'd fought hard to keep his throne. He'd actually won, as I say, at Rochester, but then he ended up fighting the French as well. So he ran away. He was retreating tactically, I suppose. But yes, it was a rather tricky old time. I haven't gone into massive detail about those wars because it is incredibly complicated. But yes, he did a runner. He scarpered. Everybody okay? Everyone with me so far? Because we're just going to wrap up now with the outcomes. Danger's asking, what's that? What's what, old boy? Let me know, my little chumraid. Woos. Oh, do you mean the Wash? The Wash is basically an area... Actually, I can show one here. It's basically an area here. This is the Wash, up here. And he was fleeing this way, and whilst he was going across, he lost his crown. He lost all of his treasures. The crown jewels at the time went missing and everything like that. It was very nasty. So what happened with Magna Carta? John's son, Henry III, he became king. He was a boy king, very, very young. And the barons used him to make sure that they got what they wanted. They said to the French, they said to Louis, who'd invaded, actually, mate, we don't want you anymore. Off you go, off you pop, back to France, go on. So Louis went, oh, is it a law? I thought I was going to be king, and walked away. Just throwing in a bit of light-hearted humour there for what is rather a strange time. And the Magna Carta was then turned into a peace treaty between the king, the young king, Henry III, and the barons, and that was finalised in 1217, and it ended the war between the barons and the new king, Henry III, who was the son of King John, and he'd inherited the throne in 1216 when, what's-his-face, John died. And Magna Carta became the cornerstone of law in England that lasts to this very day. It has influenced documents, without a doubt, such as the Declaration of Independence in America, the American Constitution, India's independence from Britain after the Second World War. Gandhi used the Magna Carta as a basis for the rights enshrined. King John, what's his face exactly, the poxy king of England. It makes up a huge part of our unwritten constitution. And in 1948, after the Second World War, a document was drawn up called the Universal Statute for Human Rights. And basically that enshrines everyone's right as a human being on this planet. It enshrines that if you make war, you're held accountable for it. It enshrines that you have the right to walk down the street and buy an ice cream. I mean, not at the moment, but you know what I mean. The rights to vote, the rights to this and that. And it also means that nobody is more powerful than the law. And that all came from Magna Carta, the Declaration of Independence, the American Constitution, India's independence, and England's unwritten constitution, and as I say, the Universal Statute for Human Rights. It was the beginning. It is the great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of all human rights movements, arguably globally. And 1/4, a rather interesting fact, I thought, 1/4 of the population of the globe today live in a country whose government and law comes from Magna Carta, all the way back to a tiny little slip of paper, and it was actually quite big, but a bit of paper that was signed by a resentful king in 1215 on an island in the middle of the River Thames, and it has completely changed the world. Yes, so King John's son was Henry, and he ruled as Henry III of England. Yes, that is correct. I will be answering any questions you may have before we go on to the quiz. Louis was the invading French king who the barons in the end went, actually, we've got a young boy king we can use. We don't need you anymore, Louis. So yes, I will repeat that because I think it's worth remembering. 1/4 of the population of the globe today live in a country whose government and law systems are based on Magna Carta. And as I say, a document signed in 1215. I sort of can't believe that. That's a fact that stayed with me since school. I've never really been able to get my head around that. So that is the end of the lesson, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions, please do drop them into the comments. We will now move on to the quiz. Please get your pens and paper ready. It's my favourite time. I love seeing, I cannot tell you, I'm going to say it one more time, how much I am touched by your commitment to these lessons, and the fact that you all do so well in the quiz means that, that's what I had a quote. Sorry, we like our primary sources. This is a direct quote from the Magna Carta, and just listen to how resonant it is today. No freeman shall be taken or imprisoned or outlawed or exiled, or in any way harmed, nor will he go upon him, nor will we send upon him, except by the legal judgment of his peers, or by the law of the land. That could have been written yesterday, ensuring the rights of humankind. It's quite remarkable. I hope that you agree with me. Right, question 1 of the quiz. Name the system that is symbolised by a triangle of power that existed in England in the 13th century, the 1200s. Name the system symbolised by a triangle of power. How is everyone doing? Everyone got that? Everyone seems quite blown away by that fact. I genuinely, I've never been able to get rid of that. Right, here we go, straight in there. Loving all this. Oh, Emma and Drew have got it, fantastic. Hope you're not sharing answers, you two. We need individual answers. Well done, everybody. Feudalism, well done. Feudal, well done, absolutely. Well done, Joseph, well done, Ian, well done, Danger. Excellent, well done. Everyone gets a team point for that one by the looks of things. It was the feudal system, feudalism. Question 2, name the belief that kings are created and answer only to God. Name the belief that the kings are created and only answerable to God. Well done to the Gannies, they've got it. Ginster Mummy, I think that's Nell. Well done, Nell, straight in there. Isabella's got it. Well done, Isabella. People requesting the Battle of Agincourt. Very good suggestion. I will take that into consideration. I do have Friday sorted. I'll be telling you about that at the end of the lesson. Excellent. Well done, Ian. Well done, Joe. That's correct. Apollina, nearly. It's the belief in the divine right of kings. Well done. It is a toughie. I did tell you I had to challenge you a bit on this one. Divine right. Well done, Danger. Well done, Gannies. You've got it. Fantastic. Well done, everybody. Yes, it was the divine right of kings. Who was John's better and far more famous brother? Who was John's better and far more famous brother? Well done, Beachick. Well done, excellent. Love that. Well done, Joseph. Loving everyone's done very well. You've obviously written all your notes very well. Well done, Nell. Fantastic. And your first time joining as well. And we're already on to a very good roll of answers. Very happy with that. Well done, Apollina. Absolutely. Straight in there with the right answer. Yes. If anyone wants to be able to, maybe get a bonus team point. Excellent. Straight in there, Joe, with 2 emojis, which has completely got it. Lionheart. Exactly. Richard Lionheart. Well done, everybody. Sean Connery. Yeah, absolutely. You can't beat him. I sort of do a Sean Connery, I think. Oh, hello, Miss Money. No, I can't. Never mind. We'll ignore that. Well done, Danger. Well done, Joseph. Excellent to the Gannies as well. You've all done beautifully. Richard Lionheart. What did the barons get fed up of doing? So that is question 4. What did the barons get fed up of doing? Famously Sean Connery, absolutely. Kevin Costner's dad. Was it Kevin Costner's dad? I don't think I've seen that one. I'm very confused. Yes, well done, Danger. Yes, I think I've said congratulations to you and Joseph. You're the last 2 at the top there. Marvellous. Straight in there, Apollina. Yes! Well done, Sebastian. Well done, Isabella. Excellent. Well done, Ian. Everyone is doing phenomenally well. Taxes from Joseph, paying the king from the Gannies. Danger's got that right as well. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Of course, you're 100% right. I'd forgotten. Bravo. Yes, it was paying the taxes. Well done. What did John... This is question 5. What did John do to barons who didn't pay their taxes? What did he do? That nasty King of England. Well done to Joe. Well done to Nell. Fantastic. Well done to Nikki. Well done. How did the barons know what to ask for? A very interesting question. They all got together and they sat down and they tried to work out a way that they could get a better lot in life under their evil, nasty king. Straight in there, Sebastian. He took their land. Well done, Joe. Well done, everybody. Sheena, well done. Apollina took their land. Exactly. Quite right. I thought I'd throw you off the scent there because I thought you'd launch in there with the starvation fact that I told you. But you're quite right. You sidestepped me beautifully. Well done, Isabella. Well done, Joseph. Well done, Danger. Absolutely. He took their land. Question 6. How did the barons convince John to finally meet them? It's Callum, of course. I'm so sorry. I can't remember all of your names as you come up, but I try and give you a shout out as much as I can because you're all doing fantastically, but I can't always remember who's who. But thank you for reminding me. Well done, Callum. Congratulations. So, yes. How did the barons finally convince John to meet them? Anyone? Sebastian, you are smashing this quiz today. Congratulations, that's a point for you. With the Magna Carta, absolutely, yes. That's a sort of, yes, I can sort of give you that. Threatened getting the French over, that's also a correct answer. Captured the capital, 100%. They blackmailed him, exactly. Well done, Callum. Threatening to bring the French Dauphin, the son of the French king, over. Well done, Ian. Well done, Joseph. Yes, that's correct. Go Sebastian. Louis, absolutely. Well done. They said they replaced him with Louis of France. Congratulations. And well done, Danger, as well. And well done to the Gans. That's top notch. In which year was the Magna Carta signed by John? In which year was the Magna Carta signed by John? Well done, Nell. Blackmail. It was blackmail. 100%. It was blackmail. There's no denying that. You're 100% correct. Bravo. Yes, which year did they sign the Magna Carta? Remember the little song? Well done. Look at that. You've all done marvellously today. 12:15. Just a complete what's it called? A snowstorm of correct answers. Well done. Emma and Drew have got it. Well, oh God, I'm so impressed. Callum's even got the title, the place where it was signed. I'm very proud. Well done, Danger. 12th of June, 12:15. Well done. Which royal residence is near Runnymede? Which royal residence is near Runnymede? I did mention it. Were you listening? Was anyone there? Really enjoyed the singing today. Well, maybe I will continue. I don't think that anyone wants that, but that's very kind of you. Straight in there, Callum. Well done. Absolutely. Sebastian as well. Joe, well done. Ian, fantastic. Fantastic. All of you. Windsor Castle. Bravo-issimo. Who else we got? We got Nell, fantastic, and Danger's got it, absolutely. Windsor Castle, that wonderful residence that was there at the time. It's one of the oldest still inhabited castles in the world, if not the oldest. When all this is over, I do invite you all to go there because it would be it's a marvellous place to go. Well done, Joseph, fantastic. Question 9: what does Magna Carta mean? What does Magna Carta mean? Excellent. Look at this, Windsor Castle, left, right, and centre. Bravo. I must find a way to get my beard. My sister keeps threatening to get the old kitchen scissors out, but I think that would not only be the end of these lessons, but probably the end of me. It's never normally this long. Well done, Joe. Yes, absolutely. Well done, Callum. Well done, Sebastian. Well done, Emma and Drew. Absolutely, it was the Great Charter, the Great Charter. Well done, Danger. Well done to the Gannies. Well done, Ian. Interesting fact, they believe that may have come from the fact that it was written on a larger piece of paper than usual, but I think that they knew just how important Magna Carta was going to be. Well done, Joseph. Well done, Nell. Absolutely smashing it today, all of you. And the final question today, name one other major event or ... that Magna Carta has influenced. Name one other major event or ... that Magna Carta has influenced. And actually, there'll be a bonus question 11. Bear with me. Right? Name one other major event or ... that Magna Carta has influenced. I remember David Cameron couldn't answer that in a quiz. Yeah, less about that. Well done, Callum. Well done, Sebastian. Well done, Joe. Apollina 6, I'm going to give you that. Democracy. It really did rocket democracy. Ian came in with the American Constitution. 100% right. Joseph's gone for the law. Bravo. Absolutely right. Well done to Drew and Emma. That's marvellous. Freedom from Joe. Well done. And the American Constitution from Danger. And the freedom of India. Absolutely. India's independence. You're all absolutely marvellous. I am blown away. And the bonus question 11. What percentage of the globe today lives under a system influenced by Magna Carta? Well done, Nell. Absolutely. American independence. You're 100% right. And if when you all grow up you want to become historians and you want to go and look at these fantastic documents, you will see that quote that I read out earlier on. You'll see that is enshrined in so much of the law. A quarter, well done. Actually, you're right, it's more of a fraction, wasn't it, rather than a percentage. But you're right, Callum's got that correct. Well done. I will accept 25% or a quarter as an answer. Well done, Nell. Well done, Joseph. You're all fantastic. I'm blown away by your attention. Right, hit me with your how much you got, what your results were in the quiz, in the comments. As I say, we have Friday's lesson planned already. We will be discussing the Boer War. I'm trying to go for something a little bit different, just to keep everyone entertained. I've got a good old list from you all as to what as to what we'll be doing. Well done to Ian, well done to Danger, 10 out of 10 for Callum and for Sebastian. Well done, you've all done supremely. Yes, well done, Joseph. 11 out of 11, 10 out of 11 for Apollina 6. Bravo, bravo. Can we do Agincourt on Monday? We shall see. Which war? We are going to do the Boer War, which was Britain's imperial tendencies in South Africa. It's a very, very interesting subject, which still has resonance today. So I hope you'll join me on Friday. 10 out of 10 for Ethan and Jamie. Bravo. Bye from Joseph. Bye, Joseph. Lovely to have you with us, and see you all on Friday. Thank you for joining us. See you all Friday, 11 o'clock. Share with all your friends and family. Hit me up with any questions you may have at MacShad or at Up All Hours. Lovely having you all here today. Hope you enjoyed, and take very good care of you all. Okay, take care.